Ahoy there, fellow travelers. Welcome to E-Travels with Trules, a personal and literary podcast of travel adventures and misadventures from around the world. This is Eric Trules, and thanks for listening. It's 1999, the last year of the war-torn 20th century. I'm traveling in the Middle East to Israel, Egypt, and Jordan. I've crossed the sketchy Israeli border at Eilot to bust down into Egypt's Sinai Desert, where hip Israelis go to the shores of the coral-reefed Red Sea for a little rest and relaxation. There's no war between feuding nations right now. It's still about a year before the violent Second Palestinian Intifada. They tell me it's safe. E-Travels with E-Trules. Grazing with Camels. It's May 1999. Israel. Ehud Barak has just been elected prime minister. Appeared in Rabin Square in Tel Aviv at 3 in the morning, and Israelis are optimistic again. There will be peace. Travel is easy in 1999, and I have this idea to go out into the desert, as in Sinai Desert, as in Camels, Bedouins, Moses, the Red Sea, the Ten Commandments. Because the Sinai is to Israelis as Baja is to Angelenos. A quick tourist hop over the border, but with aquamarine coral-reefed seawaters, rugged rust and sand-colored hills jutting into the intense blue sky, hot desert-baking sun sapping all logic and ambition out of you, strains of tabla and oud music tickling the air, lines of primitive straw Bedouin huts called choushas dotting the sand and stone shore for 100 miles on end. The best of Israel comes down here to escape the life and death intensity of their existential days to days, unwinding, de-stressing, till one day melts into another and then into a week, when you suddenly find yourself ticking to a different clock. The suns, the earths, the seas, where the Sinai slows you down until time is lost, and you have no desire to return to that careful and clever thing we invented, civilization. I've bussed south from Jerusalem through the Negev, crossed the still friendly border at Eilot, and taxied down to a small Bedouin camp on the Red Sea called Ras Es Satan, head of the devil, where I've come to lie around in the heat of the day with alternative Tel Aviv types, eating hummus, tahina, slurping mint tea, playing backgammon, reading Amos Oz and Naguib Mahfouz. Until I get the lazy urge to put on a mask and snorkel, walk down 20 yards from my chousha into the salty Red Sea, and marvel at the fan-shaped, moving coral reef. I swim with the fishes, God-painted and neon-lit creatures making me feel like either Jacques Cousteau or one of the fishes themselves. At night, I adventure out for a mini history lesson to see what those parting the Red Sea Jews experienced for 40 years before reaching the Promised Land. I speak to my new Bedouin friend, swarthy, cool Adnan. Hey, Adnan, my man, can you take me for a 2-day overnight camel safari out into the Great Sinai? Where I can walk in the steps of Moses and Joshua and sleep under the dark, infinite sky of the nomadic Bedouin? Trules, my man, You have to round up 4 more adventurers for this camel safari you want to take. Because we must take 5, 6 camels, drivers, enough food, blankets, and supplies for both riders and drivers to make the trip worthwhile. If you know what I mean, my man. And so I do. Because I do know what he means. So I round up 2 stiff-lipped Israeli soldiers on holiday and an adventurous Italian painter and his Brazilian girlfriend. And the 5 of us go down with Adnan and his 6 camel drivers on a 2-day camel safari overnight into the Sinai. Our plan is to slow down and uncivilize ourselves enough to recalibrate our souls, to sleep in the cool night air of the biblical diamond star sky. No tools, no agenda, no anything, just life. It's dark now, very dark, night 1. Our 5 camels are parked about 3 miles into the Sinai Canyon. The hairy beasts are kneeling, sleeping in the sand, making a variety of obscene grunting, farting noises under an otherwise noiseless, starlit sky. The ride has been bumpy. I've been squeezed into a camel saddle about half the size I need. No room for me to sit frontward without comical genital pain. So I've ridden Bedouin style, sitting 3/4 sideways, both legs draping over to the right of the camel. After about 10 minutes, it's inordinately painful. My ass is killing me, and by the end of the day, we've gone only about 5 miles. But Adnan and his 6 camel drivers have made life and comfort out of the thin desert air. No tools, just found sticks, rocks, shrubs, stones, and a Zippo lighter. And we're sitting around a roaring fire on 10 multicolored blankets. We're eating a tasty macaroni and canned tuna casserole, drinking bottled water that the camel drivers have carried for us. And we're singing some kind of simple Arabic melody under a magnificent desert sky. Yuhum, 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 yuhum. We even have a little local herb for a nightcap. There are no borders, no politics, not even, according to Adnan, any religion. It's the way people have lived in this desert for thousands of years. Nomadic, respectful, dependent, and cooperative with the land. The next day, we're up at dawn. The sky is gray, but the air is dry and already too warm. The camel crew is packing up our gear, loading down our beasts of burden with hundreds of pounds of blankets, food, water, and even our used trash. I learned how to make a camel both sit and run. First command sounds like this. Sit, beast, sit. The second is a sloppy intake of air, and it sounds like this. I decide right then and there that I'm going to teach every one of my USC students how to make a camel sit and how to run. Before we set off on day 2, we have a few breadsticks and some local herbal tea. Then off we go into the land that Moses, Joshua, and the escape from Egypt Red Sea Jews wandered for 40 years. It's harsh and beautiful. Rocky red granite hills, life-devouring sun, occasionally merciful shade. Sometimes we have to walk through narrow canyons that the camels can't fit through. The drivers take them off in the opposite direction until half an hour later, they mysteriously reappear beyond the impasse. Never have I appreciated a swallow of water as much as when we see those beastly camels again. Now it's midday and the sun is at its peak. Where's the ruler of the Sinai? Adnan and his drivers track its course across the incandescent sky, and they anticipate every angle of shade a cliff can provide. 2 hours later, we see a cluster of raggedy green palm and fig trees. It's a mirage, right? No, gringo. You're in the middle of the Sinai Desert. It's actually an oasis. And Adnan is sitting on his haunches, mixing a combination of flour and salt and water into sticking mounds of dough. It's as if our camels have been carrying the desert-proof ingredients in these carefully wrapped plastic bags for centuries. Another quick Zippo-lit fire in a 1,000-year-old black iron pan, and we have magically produced handmade pita. It's also miraculously delicious. It makes me think of the price we've paid for modern civilization, with its computers, its comforts and conveniences, its instant transportation and technology. Because here, in the middle of the desert, you become acutely aware of how much we've lost touch with nature and her elements, fire, air, earth, water, but also how much we've lost touch with ourselves, with the very things that used to make us human, using our hands to make things and make the food we eat, being reliant on our families and neighbors, attuning our lives to the cycles of the day, to the climate, to the season. Now other things make us human. Our materialism, our cyber technology, our politics, and our multinational prejudices. No longer are we dependent on the beauty or cycles of the moon, the changing of the tides, the rising and setting of the sun. Instead, we disrespect and ignore Mother Nature, and indeed ourselves. We've become victims of our own post-industrial technologies. Sure, I know the other side, that we're so much more comfortable, more knowledgeable. We can live decades longer. We're more scientifically and philosophically evolved, more politically correct. We have women's rights, gay marriage, sometimes civil rights, and sometimes we take better care of the environment. But we've lost our sense of awe in the power of the natural universe, in its magic, in its wrath. We've lost community and family and interdependence on one another. Okay, enough. Somehow we make it through the scorching day, and now we're camel camp for our second night. We're sitting around another Zippo-lit fire on our mismatched sleeping bags, watching the huge orange moon rise over the Gulf of Aqaba. There are showers of stars in the sky. The moon's reflection is dancing off the water to the oriental sounds of an Egyptian oud and a Turkish finger drum. We're taking our turns around a sweet-smelling nargila water pipe, and I am experiencing a grateful and rare feeling of contentment, perhaps even one of Spaulding's perfect moments. And now, it's over 15 years later. There are no more friendly Israeli borders. Mr. Sharon and Mr. Arafat are both long gone. Ras Es Satan has been bombed to smithereens by Islamic terrorists, and terror and anger explode daily in Palestine, Israel, and in the Sinai. There's bloodshed everywhere, and no peace and no trust in sight. Only hatred and history. I think maybe we should all go out into the desert, take a camel safari, Forget about the international borders and the impotent mediators. And we should just see how much we all really have in common. Love from the Sinai, El Arik of the desert. Original music composed by Anello Capuano. Sound designed by Alicia Bermudez. Produced by Harry Duran at Fullcast. Please contact us with your feedback and to schedule an on-air interview. This podcast has been supported with a USC Capstone Grant. Special thanks to Phil Allen and the School of Dramatic Arts for their support.